Adam, this week you better get lacing up them skates because we're hopping back out on the ice in NHL 21.
Picture being thrust into a foreign culture.
The Washington Capitals are pleased to select Alexander Ovechkin.
And can barely speak the language. But you do speak one language that everyone understands. Picture yourself celebrating every goal like it's your first. Or maybe, like it'll be your last. You make a big splash, because it's who you are. And that puts a big target on your back.
All right, Adam, like I said in the intro, we're back out on the ice in EA Sports NHL 21. We've got Alexander Ovechkin gracing us on the cover again. And you know what? I think it was a good fit this year. We're kind of looking at kind of a re-energize of some of the old modes in this game compared to last year. Because I know a lot of fans kind of thought last year was a bit of a flop, so we were looking for some changes in the new iteration this year coming forward. So what did you think when you first jumped into NHL 21?
Yeah, well, the big mode that they're going with this year is the whole revamp of the Be a Pro mode, right?
Yeah.
And to start off with that OV intro, that video, man, it's sick.
Yeah, goosebumps,
to start, to start your legacy, and then you just get right into it, and it really shows how to become that pro and how to build that legacy. And it's a really good job revamping it because basically I started off in the Memorial Cup, or you could start right into the NHL, and you got to build your player up, and you got to go through the draft process. And then once you finally get drafted, you start getting you get on the ice with your teammates, and then you start noticing the changes because you've got your brand to manage, you got your teammates' likability to manage, and then you got management as well. So basically, to manage these likabilities, you go through these conversations with your coach or your teammates or the GM, and basically they give you things to achieve either on the ice or off the ice, and depending on whether or not you can score these goals that they want you to score, or just go bowling with your teammates, that's how you kind of level up your player and unlock the skills on the skill tree and such.
Yeah, and so like you're saying here with this skill tree, this is also a new element to this Be a Pro. So we've talked a little bit about the conversation element that we do have now in Be a Pro, which is a little more towards the Madden and FIFA side of Be a Pro. Right. We never had this in NHL before, so it is kind of an interesting implementation. It's all text-based. It's not voiceovers, so there isn't too many cinematics. You're basically just kind of going through what looks like text message windows, and you're picking your conversation choices. And as you pick these certain choices, there's usually a neutral choice, a team choice, and then sometimes an all-star choice. And I found the neutral and team choices to be very vanilla. You're playing the good guy. But the all-star one is super ignorant sometimes. Every once in a while it's just okay, I get it, you're being the superstar, but I just feel like a real NHL superstar, especially in their rookie year, isn't gonna talk like that. No. So I understand the way they gotta play it up to make the choices seem a little more extreme on either end, and it does affect your likability meters as you go through, and the idea is to build those up as quickly as possible. But again, moving a little bit away from the conversations, you do get into some of these other elements with the skill tree as we kind of collect skill points as we upgrade our player and level our player up. So this year it's a little bit different because we've never had a skill tree. This is almost like an RPG skill tree kind of, in the sense where you get to pick what areas you want to improve your players. So I went with a sniper kind of base build overall. You and I have been playing NHL together for a long time. You're always kind of a power forward type guy, at least that's your go-to on EA Sports Hockey League. Mine's a sniper, so that's where I started this year. And I liked how there was kind of the ability to go back in like those years past where you got to add the +3s and the +5s and really customize that skater build. So at least in the Be a Pro this year, we have the ability to really tailor our kind of play style. Because I'm a sniper, I wanted to go a little hit heavy because I already knew I have good shots, so at least if my guy's tough enough out there, I can also score goals and also make room for my teammates. So I did like the implementation of the skill tree this year because I thought it kind of gives you back that customization we've kind of lost over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to the Be a Pro players and the EA Sports Hockey League players. So overall, I think the Be a Pro mode has been a really nice refresh. Unfortunately, I think the only place it falls short really is the fact that it doesn't really extend past your rookie season that much. It's all about the chase for, the Calder Trophy, and if once that's over, there's not a whole lot of support for the Be a Pro after that into your, into seasons beyond the first season. So for me, I really enjoyed it. I think they're headed in the right direction here when it comes to adding this, all these different changes into this mode that's kind of become stale over the years. So it was nice to see kind of them go in this direction with the Be a Pro.
All right, Corey. So another mode they kind of revamped this year is the Hut Rush mode. So it's kind of an extension to your Hut team. You can kind of quickly jump in with a squad you drafted, and you get into these quick games where you're playing the mascots or playing other all-stars, and you get rewarded with this new scoring multiplier. You get rewarded for the prettier plays, and that's how you kind of level up your. It's almost like a battle pass in a way. It's kind of how you unlock more Hut items that you can use for your actual Hut team. But the multiplier is a pretty cool addition because instead of just doing a cross crease pass, you might not get that many points. But if you're putting it between your legs, passing it to someone, he's going around the net doing the Michigan goal. Well then the multiplier is just gonna really advance you through that.
Oh yeah,
it's a pretty good game mode.
You're going to score some extra points for sure pulling off that Michigan, which yet I have not been able to do. I've been trying so hard. It is not. They didn't make it easy, which I was concerned this year was going to be a huge problem because everybody knows with games like this, you're always going to run into glitch goals and things like that. So when I saw the Michigan being a move in this, I was like, oh no. But I've been trying to do it even in practice mode, and it's so difficult to pull off, even with players with really high deking skill level and things like that. It's not necessarily easy. But to refocus here, to jump back into one of the other game modes that they've kind of revamped. Again, we're talking about a lot of revamps here. With sports games like this every year, that's the biggest challenge, is to kind of come up with what's going to make this game kind of feel new. And they didn't want to focus on next gen for NHL 21. They wanted to focus on current gen and try to give us the best experience possible. And they have done a better job. I'll definitely agree with you there. We both talked about the Be a Pro mode's been great, and this new Hut Rush I think is a good way to jump into Hut without the full commitment of managing your team all the time. Well, I like the commitment of managing my team, so I always tend to play a lot of EA Sports Hockey League most of the time with you guys, but when I'm playing by myself, I like to play franchise mode because there's always so many different elements to kind of control and micromanage in these franchise modes. And NHL's franchise has always been pretty good. It's always been fairly involved, but this year they've done a huge kind of revamp of the menu system, so we're getting a lot more information displayed on screen at once, so you're not having to dig through the menus, because I found last year's game, even outside of franchise mode, it was just menu after menu, tile after tile, just to get to the one game mode you want to play. So it was nice to see that when you first jump into franchise mode, there's so much information displayed on the first screen before you start toggling to some of these other sub menus. So it kind of gives you the layout of what's coming up next, what players in your team may not be as happy as you want them to be, so you need to boost team morale or possibly look for a trade. And again, this year I thought the trading system has also been kind of boosted a little bit. I always found in years prior that it was very difficult to pull off trades. You would usually have to sell yourself short to get a player that you wanted, and it always seemed like a lopsided deal. It was very difficult to find those deals that the teams wouldn't be so just taken back by and upset that you even thought about offering those deals. So this year I went in and tried to get a couple trades going right off the bat, and I was able to pull them off with quite a bit of ease, and it was more player for player trade. I didn't have to trade as many draft picks, and maybe I kept a little bit of salary to sway the trade a little bit in their favor so I could get the player I wanted. But I found it definitely a lot easier this year in the trade aspect of franchise mode. And then you get into all the upgrades to your arena, and then your goals for the season, and the ability to be fired if you're not doing a good enough job. So there's they did a good job this year in kind of refreshing that franchise mode and making it just that much more involved. Because if you want to play franchise, you're already really interested in the fact of all jumping in and doing all these small tasks and micromanaging. So kind of having a little more of that is definitely more enjoyable for somebody that wants to play in this game mode. But I want to stay with franchises just for a second here, and it was talked about heavily on kind of a wish list of things that I know previous players wanted in this year's game. We were talking about online franchise, and it's something they don't have in NHL. They had it years and years ago, and they got rid of it. and they haven't had it back. We have had online hut leagues, but they've also now gotten rid of that in turn for the rush modes you were talking about earlier. So now we have absolutely no way to have an online league in NHL other than playing EA Sports Hockey League. And that is, it's disappointing because online franchise and being able to jump in and play as your favorite NHL team or have a draft with your friends to pick teams and, you know, to keep track of everybody's stats in the league as you go on is an absolute blast. And there's third-party websites that allow you to do that, but we want it in-game. And NHL is, I don't know, I know they've heard the fans and they wanted to work on a bunch of other modes this year, but it was just really disappointing not to see that one thing implemented, because I feel like, you know, Madden's got it, FIFA's got it, NHL should have it. All right, Adam, I'm going to say the best for last, because I think this is the best game mode NHL's had since they brought it in, and it's EA Sports Hockey League. It gives you the ability to make a club with your friends, create your own custom player, kind of build them up, and play your games with your friends, you know, on the same line, compete, and it's a blast. It's a game mode that we play religiously every year, whether it's frustrating or not. We have a blast playing. Exactly. we have a blast playing this game mode. But my biggest disappointment this year is we've been talking about revamped game mode this and revamped game mode that and refresh here. Well, EA Sports Hockey League got almost nothing. Like, the menu system looks exactly the same. I mean, other than maybe some different customization options, we're basically playing the same game, same mode as we played last year. With, other than, you know, the new kind of smooth skating that they've talked about, and, you know, the gameplay overall is definitely a lot smoother. But to focus on the actual game mode itself, I just feel like we're playing just a carbon copy of what we played in NHL 20.
I think they're on the right track with the Be a Pro in that, and I think where they missed a lot last year was with the Hockey League online that we played so much of, is they kind of abandoned it. And, you know, they weren't fixing any of these problems that people were having, or the bugs or the glitch goals. So I guess we'll have to wait and see for this year's game if they're actually going to pay more attention to that and, you know, start patching problems on it. But so far this year, I think I'm just going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
All right, you know what? I'm just a little bit lower than you. I kind of had the same feeling all around. I feel like we're playing, you know, a nice refresh from last year's game. The gameplay itself is definitely a lot smoother. You know, the shooting animations, the goalies are definitely improved. The defense AI is getting better. They're not quite there yet, but definitely better than last year. You know what? I still am going to play this game till I can't stand it at some point, you know, right before the next one launches next year. So I can't knock it too much. I still had a ton of fun here. The refreshes have been great. So I got to give this one a 7 out of 10.
But you don't shy away from the spotlight.
Celebration when you score goal.
You long for it. You command it. You make the impossible look easy.
Great refresh to the Be a Pro and franchise modes. It would have been nice to see the same thing happen to the EA Sports Hockey League mode, but overall the game feels very similar to last year, but also with some very nice gameplay improvements.
On a way to play.
Obi's inspired so many players to be like him. The passion, the way he plays the game.
And the critics who pointed at the one thing you couldn't do.
The Capitals just can't seem to get it done.
Picture silence in them.